So hello there, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Starry Skies, the magazine programme that tells you all about the night sky and what you can see in this month of March. I'm Mark Hardacre, but sadly, this month, we're missing my usual companion on the show. Starry Steve Tonkin unfortunately had a car accident last week, which has landed him in hospital for a week. We wish him a very speedy recovery so that he can come and share his astronomical wisdom again with us soon. But instead, today, I would like to introduce Duncan Reevell. Duncan is the chairman of our local Fordingbridge Astronomer Society. What are you? You're clinician? No, you're
clinical director as well of Linwood Vets, which is probably where some people might know me from.
So you may know of Duncan from if you had a poorly pet, perhaps. Anyway, welcome to the show, Duncan.
Thank you very much. It's very nice to be here indeed, and wishing Steve all the best.
Yeah, I'm sure he's listening. I know he will be. So let's say. So what we're going to do today, we're going to talk about all the planets and the planet parade that we've had in the last couple of months. Wasn't that just an amazing media thing?
It's been crazy, really, hasn't it? It's just seized the public imagination in a way that happens once a decade, really, with our hobby, I would say. Something just grabs you.
We all know, as astronomers, it was a clickbait thing, really. There was a parade of planets, yes. Were all 7 visible? No. 5 or 6, yes, but it attracted so much media attention. We were inundated, weren't we, with calls and messages?
Well, we see all those planets from time to time, one at a time, every time we go out viewing and have done. But actually seeing them all in the sky, I did enjoy it. Yeah. It was nice. We had a meeting ourselves, didn't we, at one of our sites, and I think we did manage to get up to 5 plus 1 being Earth.
Yes.
But I don't think we saw the moon was too close to the sun.
Yep.
It was very, very close to New. And Saturn, unfortunately, also was very, very close. So we missed that.
Neptune we'd also lost in the twilight. But, despite the media hype, those planets will continue to be visible. Most of them will continue to be visible throughout the month of March. So we'll talk about them. But also March is a tremendous month for eclipses, Duncan.
Eclipses, yeah.
We got 2 of them.
We got two eclipses.
2 eclipses this month.
Excellent. What are those eclipses then?
So the first one, on the 14th of March, is when we have a total lunar eclipse. So that is when the moon passes into the shadow of the Earth, and as it sets, the moon will turn a rusty red-brown.
Oh, yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah. So that's because the sunlight from all the sunsets on the whole world is being projected through onto the surface of the moon. So if you're standing on the surface of the moon, you're basically seeing every sunset on Earth at the same moment.
Yeah. You'd see the sun pass behind the Earth. If you were standing at the Apollo 11 site, looking up at the Earth in the sky, the sun would be behind it, and you'd see a reddy brown glow all around the Earth.
Amazing.
Trouble is, that eclipse starts at 4 a.m. in the morning, our time.
Oh, that's a bit of a drawback.
So this eclipse really is for battle-hardened astronomers like Duncan and I.
Or early risers
or
who have to go to work nice and early. My clinic's open very early.
Oh, my goodness.
I need to get going.
So if you really are awake at that time, on the 14th of March, go out and have a look. You'll see the moon low in the western sky, and it will slowly move towards the horizon, setting around about 6 o'clock. And for those 2 hours before 4 a.m. and 6 a.m., you'll see the moon become progressively fainter and darker, and it will become a rusty red or brown colour as it sets. And then a fortnight later, guess what?
Not another eclipse.
Another eclipse, yes.
Not another one at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Nope. This time we're lucky.
That's good to hear.
This time will be a partial solar eclipse. So imagine 2 weeks later the moon has made half a tour around the Earth. So it's now on the other side of the Earth and will pass now in front of the sun. This is called a partial solar eclipse. And that will happen on Saturday morning. Put it in your diary. Saturday morning, the 29th of March. And this time it starts at a more reasonable time.
What time does it start then?
10:02. So you can have your coffee, your Weetabix,
Morning
get
coffee,
out in the garden. Oh, make sure, of course, that you take with you your solar protection. You mustn't ever look at the sun, ever. Not with any optical aid, and not even with the naked eye. Otherwise, you'll end up in the equivalent of Linford Vets, having your eyes sorted out by a proper doctor. So don't do that.
So what is this eclipse then? It's not a total solar eclipse. It's not where it goes completely dark.
No, this is where the moon will pass partially in front of the sun, taking out a bite of the sun. It's quite a big bite, maybe 30 or 40% of the sun. You will not notice the difference. The sunlight will not fade appreciably, and animals will not start to roost and so on. But it's a very nice sight, and we will be setting up, as many astronomers will be in the area, we'll be setting up at, where do we go? Where's the place we're going to go for this one?
So we're going to go to Abbotswell car park for this, which is just in the New Forest, near the village of Frogham.
Yeah.
It's got a great open sky, and a great low horizon, but there's a reason why we're there. Actually, we'll be there already.
Yes, we'll be, because we're going to have a Messier challenge. Regular listeners to this show will know that Steve Tonkin and I love Charles Messier, the French astronomer who identified 110 nebula in the sky. So on the 28th, Friday evening through to Saturday morning, Fordingbridge astronomers will be there at Abbotswell car park in the New Forest with all our telescopes trying to find all 110 of these.
Oh, yeah.
Some of us will succeed and get through the night, some may not, but those tough, battle-hardened astronomers will stay out and show you the partial eclipse.
It's becoming an annual event, this, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, it's like searching for the Holy Grail. It's our Arthurian quest, isn't it?
It is.
We're always trying to find that last elusive Messier object. There's almost always the one that we've missed because we're having cake or cookies, or it's lost in the southern horizon.
You can tell that Duncan has been properly educated, although it's not quite true. I mean, he did go to Cambridge University, which is not as good as the other one. But I just thought I'd throw that in.
I'm aware there is another university other than Cambridge somewhere.
Yes,
I forget its name.
Yeah, it's called Oxford. It's a good place. Anyway, moving right along. So the eclipse, 29th of March, which is Saturday morning. Come and see us. We'll be with our telescopes. There'll probably be a good dozen telescopes set up to view the sun safely. So you'll be able to look through our glasses, look through our telescopes and so on, and we'll be able to safely show you this eclipse. It's really rather good. So what else we got in this month of March? We've got the planets, which let's talk about them for a little while.
Let's talk about the planets, yeah.
So we won't have the parade, but they'll still be there. For most of this month, we'll still be able to see them. And especially this month, the first week. So now, if you're listening on Wednesday evening or on Sunday, do have a look for Mercury. Mercury is a real treat this month. It's a planet that's difficult to see.
Lots of people never see Mercury in their lives.
You've seen it, Duncan, because we saw it the other night, right?
Did, yeah. It's a joy seeing Mercury because it's so elusive.
It is. Why is it elusive?
It doesn't hang around long, and it's always very close to the sunset.
Right. So we have to wait till the sun's gone below the horizon before we start looking with our binoculars. But you can see it with the naked eye. This Wednesday, this week, the first week of March, you'll be able to see it. Look down where the sun has set, maybe 10, 15 minutes earlier. You'll see brilliant Venus up in the sky in the west. And between where the sun went down and Venus, have a look for Mercury. It looks like a very bright star close to the horizon. And as you said, Duncan, not many people see it, really.
No. Actually, I've got a suggestion. March the 12th, I'm highlighting for Mercury.
Yeah.
Because on March the 12th, it's going to be really quite close to Venus. And Venus is so obvious. It's
right.
Bright. It will be dropping towards the sun by then, so it won't be quite as high as it has been.
Yeah.
But I think Mercury will be very close, just a little bit to the left. So if you see the bright Venus at that point in the low western horizon just after sunset, look just to the left, just down a bit, and I think you might see Mercury.
Great. And it's a as I say, it's a treat to see. Even Copernicus, that famous Polish astronomer, he never saw Mercury during his life because he was working from the haze and polluted skies of Poland. Anyway, so we've talked about Mercury. Venus is obvious because for the whole of this month you'll see it very, very brilliant, unmistakable, the third brightest object in the sky after the sun and the moon, and you'll see it there in the west. Next up is Jupiter, the king of the planets. So you can see Jupiter high in the southwestern sky. It's yellowy. You can't miss it. It's the fourth brightest thing in the sky. And it's sitting there in the constellation of Taurus.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about how to find it later. What's the next planet? Is Mars.
Mars, the next planet. Yes, that's in Gemini currently.
Yep.
Just next to the twins, Castor and Pollux.
Yep.
Making a little nice triangle at the moment.
It is actually, yeah. So, and how would you? So, if you see the two bright objects together, how can you distinguish between Jupiter and Mars, Duncan?
Mars is so obviously red.
Right.
It's so obviously red. It's slightly dimmer than Jupiter, but it's got a beautiful red hue to it.
Yeah. And it's receding from us right now. So we've had the best of Mars. It was at opposition at its brightest earlier in the year, and it's slowly, steadily receding from us now. So we've had the best of it. Also had the best of Jupiter. It's slowly moving towards the southwest. We will start to lose it into the twilight in the next few months, and it will eventually disappear. But make the best of it while you can. If you've got a chance to see it through a telescope or binoculars, you'll be able to see the 4 Galilean moons. You saw them the other night?
Yeah. Just with my little telescope, I saw the 4 moons. They're absolutely beautiful little pinpricks. If you get the disk of Jupiter in the telescope, you can see these little points of light dancing around. Night by night they move. You can see a difference in them. In fact, in one night you can see a difference.
Hour by hour you can see the thing moving, You imagine, though, if you were Galileo, you're back in 1610. The telescope had just been invented by a Dutchman. Galileo got his hands on it. He thought, I wonder if I point this thing up in the sky. I wonder what I'll see. And he pointed it in 1610 at Jupiter. And he thought, what are these 4 little things going around Jupiter? And over a course of several weeks and months, he identified that these 4 moons were actually circling Jupiter. And that was a big shock.
That must have been.
For the world.
Wasn't that the first time that something was going around something that wasn't the Earth?
Right. And this, of course, caused him all sorts of problems with the church and the authorities in the Vatican. But we probably shouldn't touch that subject, should we?
Well, maybe we'll get a local vicar in and we can talk to them about it at some point. It doesn't seem to be a problem. Doesn't seem to be a problem for astronomy and Christianity now. There's lots of astronomical Christians out there, and why not?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the king of the planets, it will slowly disappear. But do have a look if you've got a small telescope or binoculars for those 4 moons. Okay, so what else we've got? We've finished the planets.
That will do.
What about now? Let's take a trip into the evening sky and see if we can find Orion. Okay.
Yeah.
We're lucky. It's a winter constellation. We're in spring now, so we can still see Orion. Have a look in the southwest, low down in the southwest, and you'll find the belt. Those 3 stars. And Rigel and Betelgeuse. And those are two completely different stars, aren't they?
Yeah. One's quite blue.
Yeah.
And one's pretty red.
Yeah.
Really. I think Rigel is the blue supergiant, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the one.
And Betelgeuse, how do you pronounce it?
Betelgeuse.
Betelgeuse. I don't think anyone knows, do they? I like Betelgeuse just because it's quite amusing as a name. But it's a red giant star, supergiant, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's always that concern that it's going to go pop any day. Might be tomorrow, might have happened yesterday and we didn't know about it, or it might be in 100,000 years.
Yeah, we don't know. But one day we think that Betelgeuse will collapse on itself. So this massive star will collapse on itself. There'll be a huge supernova explosion. and the thing will light up the sky like the full moon for a couple of weeks before it fades away. And that will be the end of Betelgeuse, and we'll be left with a tiny little, maybe a neutron star left, or perhaps even a black hole. It depends on how big Betelgeuse is, how much mass it has. But you can't miss those two stars in the sky in Orion, can you?
So Orion's such a obvious constellation to spot. Your eye is drawn to it.
Yeah.
As soon as you look up, you see it. It does disappear quite quickly soon. It seems to hang around throughout winter, and then it gets to spring, and the nights get shorter. Evening pushes back. And it seems like it suddenly just goes. And Orion's off hunting. That's what I like to think. He's gone off to capture some deer or something. And you just don't see him again until next winter.
Yeah. And then when he comes back in winter, we did this podcast in October. We were saying, very soon you'll be able to look out of your window and see Orion climbing out of the east. But we won't see that until autumn time. It's a real super cold weather constellation.
Absolutely.
Also, we use it as a signpost. We can use it to find other constellations, which we've talked about on this show many times. So if you take the belt and go up, you come to the constellation of Taurus, which is where Jupiter is.
Yep.
And if you go down,
you come to Canis Major and Sirius, the dog star, which is about as close to being a veterinary connection to astronomy I've ever managed to get.
We pass in these lines. We pass in these lines.
The dog star being Sirius, as it's sometimes called.
Are you being serious now?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. It is the brightest star in the sky, and it's worshipped in quite a lot of cultures. Actually, there's the Dogon tribe in Africa. Actually worship that as their god, I believe, their deity. Is that news to you, Mark?
I absolutely did not know that. Can I just write that down?
Yep. I got that from PG Tips cards. PG Tips.
Do you remember PG Tips?
Yeah, mysteries and unexplained cards. If anyone else is a child of the 1970s, I'm a young man compared to my colleague here. My era, one of the best things to do was to collect the mysteries cards from PG Tips.
We had cigarette cards in my era, which of course not completely banned by the time you came along.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So where were we? We were talking Sirius, weren't we? Sirius. So we were actually the other evening when we were gathering with friends at the observatory. Quite a number of people said, "Well, I thought the North Star was the brightest star."
Oh, yeah.
It's not, is it?
It's such a common misconception, that.
Yeah.
North Star's a very unremarkable star. It's quite a bluey star. I think it's a blue giant star, I believe. But compared to many stars even quite close to it, it's not that bright. Yeah. But the point is, it's very much right at the North Pole. Yeah. And so for navigation, it's a very useful star to be able to find your way to.
Absolutely. And whereas Sirius we'll be able to see Sirius for a few more months. It's another winter star, winter constellation. But come April and May, we won't see it anymore, and we won't see it anymore till next November or December time. So you can't use a star like that as navigation. Polaris, the pole star, we find that from the plough. So let's rotate and face towards the north, and there we'll see rising in the northeast the plough, that well-known constellation, and the front two stars of the plough point directly to Sirius. No, the pole star.
Yep.
And it's always there, isn't it?
Yeah.
The pole star is always directly above the North Pole,
and in the northern hemisphere it never sets. It's always there. Yeah,
and its height in the sky is equal to your latitude. So here in Dorset we're around 50 degrees north, and if you measure the height of Polaris in the sky, it's exactly 50 degrees up in the sky there. So again, the plough is a great way to find constellations in the sky, as is Orion. We call them signpost constellations. Okay, so let's go down from the tail of the plough. Now, not really a tail, the handles of the plough.
It's kind of a saucepan, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
With a long handle. Yeah. That's what I always think, yeah.
Well, let's arc down from that, the tail or the handle of the saucepan, and on a cold March night, around 11 o'clock, 10:30 at night, we'll follow it down to the giant star Arcturus. Easy to remember, arc down to Arcturus from the panhandle of the Plough. It's a very bright star. Orange, one of the brightest stars in the sky. Not the brightest, obviously, but it's easy to find. You've found it before, right? Easy to see.
It's a good one to find because it leads you down that kind of route there, and then you can go beyond it as well.
Yep.
And what constellation is Arcturus in?
It's in the constellation of Boötes, which is the herdsman. It's not. It looks to me like a kite.
Right.
Has a kite shape. It's quite a large constellation, but the point of mentioning Arcturus this month is close to our constellation of the month. We always have here a constellation of the month, and this month we've selected a very unusual little constellation. Normally we have Orion or the Plough or Hercules. This month we have the tiny semicircle of stars that we call Corona Borealis, which means
the Northern Crown.
That's it, and it looks like a crown. So when you see Arcturus in your eastern sky, to its left as you look, see if you can find a very pretty semicircle of stars, and that is the Northern Crown. It's more like a, what do you call a half?
It's more like a laurel wreath, I always think. I don't know like whether it is laurel wreath or tiara, I suppose.
Tiara with diamonds, I think of it.
That's nice.
It's shiny diamonds with one bright one at the front and then dimmer stars round to the side. It's one of the smallest constellations in the sky, actually. It's a tiny little thing, but it's distinctive, easy to find. Once you've found Arcturus, as I say, look to your left, and there you'll find it. The star chart will be, as usual, on the Forest FM website, as well as on the Fordingbridge Astronomers, Wessex Astronomical Society, and Cranbourne Chase Astronomical Society. So you have a look out for where the star chart is there. Corona is also one of the oldest constellations in the sky, and it's home to a number of variable stars. What's that?
Variable stars. So these are stars that periodically, in a rhythm, regular rhythm, change their brightness. Right. And this can happen for a number of different reasons. The particular one that's most exciting in Corona Borealis right now is slightly different to a regular variable star. It's what's called a nova, and this may flare up any time. And what's the name of this one? I forget.
Variable stars tend to be just given a letter rather than a full name. So this one is called T for Tango, T Corona Borealis. It's also actually called the Blaze Star because in 1886 it suddenly, for no apparent reason at all, blew up from being not visible to the naked eye at all to being really quite bright for a few days, maybe a week, before it slowly returned to its normal state. That was 1886. It did it again in 1946 and was seen for the first time by a Welshman. You know that?
Really? Any particular Welshman?
I can't remember his name, but he's 94, still alive.
He's still alive?
He's still alive. Huh? So we're hoping that he gets to see this happen again. It would be really nice.
Yeah.
So why do we think it suddenly decided to do this again? Astronomers have been looking at the spectrum of this star using our special instruments, and they have estimated that it's going to do it again this year, Duncan.
Yeah. They picked up changes in some of the colours of light in that spectrum, which have suggested that the rate at which this star is accumulating matter has suddenly increased, which happens just before it blows up.
Yeah. It's an estimate. It was going to happen last year, wasn't it? But it didn't happen.
Yeah.
So we're keeping our eyes on it. So if you see a new star in that general direction in Corona Borealis, it will be T Corona Borealis that's blown up, the Blaze Star. And it's a very unusual type of variable star. The main star is a big, giant star, and orbiting very close to it is a white dwarf, which is a tiny, compressed, fiercely hot star with a high gravity, and it's pulling material off the big star as it's orbiting. It's raping the big star, if you will. All this material then accumulates on the white dwarf until suddenly there's too much there and
bang,
bang.
boom.
So that's what we're looking out for. T Corona Borealis.
And so it could have happened now. While we've been sitting here, it might have suddenly gone. I assume it brightens very quickly. I think it's like within hours it gets bright.
The last time it happened in 1946, it went within a few hours, and it stayed bright for a few days only. So this is something that will, again, I'm sure it'll be in the press when it happens.
Imagine if you were that one person who spotted it increase in brightness first.
And there are thousands and thousands of astronomers, as the world rotates, as darkness points towards T, watching it every day.
Watching it every second.
It might be us, have a look out. It might be us.
Will only be you if you look.
That's it.
Yeah.
There's another also very rare variable star in Corona Borealis. This is R Corona Borealis. And this is a very, very unusual star. It's a reverse nova. Huh? How can that be?
How does that work?
So what happens is this particular star is a yellow giant star, and we think it's been formed out of two white dwarfs coming together somehow. Anyway, what happens is it stays at naked eye brightness just for month after month after month, and then suddenly, without any reason, it fades completely out of sight.
It just goes.
Just
has a holiday.
A month. Yeah, it's like it's gone on a vacation. It's suddenly, I'm sorry, I'm not here tonight, and it's gone. So we like to follow that one as well. There's no pattern to it. It seems to be completely
so it's not regular.
Nope. No, it's suddenly you look, and it might be for a year, maybe 18 months. It's like that, and then suddenly you can't see it anymore, and it stays like that for a couple of weeks.
And do we understand why this happens?
We think that the atmosphere is puffing out carbon or some obscuration, some dust,
soot, basically,
something like that. That's what we believe it is. So that's interesting. So do have a look for Corona Borealis. On our star chart, we'll mark where T Corona Borealis is and where R Corona Borealis is, so you can have a look. R, you'll need binoculars. T, you'll see it when it goes bang, because it will be in every newspaper in the country, I'm sure. So, all these constellations and all these objects that we can see are on our monthly star chart. And you'll find that on our Forest FM website, of course, as well as online at Fordingbridge Astronomers and Wessex Astronomical Society. We're always there. And if you're interested in finding out more about astronomy, this is a great month to do so.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be out and about a lot. We're going to be at Abbotswell in the forest for the eclipse. Please come and see us. Please come and see us for the Messier Challenge, if you fancy doing that. Bring your telescope or binoculars along. That, again, is Friday the 28th, and the eclipse is Saturday the 29th of March. We are Fordingbridge Astronomers. We meet every third Wednesday in the month at the Elm Tree in Hightown in Ringwood. And we have a great time, don't we?
We have such a laugh.
We do.
Yeah.
We actually sometimes say that we're a social club that does astronomy.
Yeah, it's all just an excuse, really. It is.
Yeah, we do have a good time.
Good company, good beer.
Absolutely.
Good content.
So, and you always say, people say, well, I might ask the wrong question. No such thing.
No.
Right? Come along. If you have zero knowledge but interest, we love you. Come along. You can never, there's no such thing as a bad question. Come and ask us. We can help you out. You want to buy a new telescope? We can help you there. Don't buy the wrong one. So that's us, Fordingbridge Astronomers. Our sisters, Wessex Astronomical Society, meet at the Allendale in Wimborne on the first Tuesday of every month. Great people as well, all desperate to meet new members. And then Cranbourne Chase Astronomy Club, which is a whisker outside of the listening area for Forest FM, up near Shaftesbury. They meet on the second Wednesday of the month at the Grosvenor Hotel in the centre of Shaftesbury. It's a super, super venue, so come along. All of our clubs, all of us, we all welcome new members. We're growing. The interest in astronomy is tremendous, isn't it?
It is, and getting bigger every time.
Yep.
Yeah, very exciting time to do astronomy.
And we don't need expensive gear, do we?
No, you just need your eyeballs and enthusiasm. That's enough.
Yep, that's enough. And at least one eye. At least one.
At least one.
Yeah, two's better. A thirst for knowledge. So, thanks for listening today. We'll see you in a month's time. Hopefully with Steve. Probably not. I suspect he might be away for some while. So, we'll see you next month. So, it's goodbye from me, Mark Hardacre.
And it's goodbye from me, Duncan Reevil.
And clear skies. And we'll see you again soon.